This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com.
Hey everybody, it's your old pal Rob, and well, I wanted to do a different type of list. I'm a big war gamer. I'm a big fan of the old Avalon Hill games. They mean a lot to me because, back in the day, there was nothing really out there, and when you would get one of these box set, these bookshelf box games, or any Avalon Hill game, you were invested. They were moments, they were thematic for the day, and they just were something that was special, and it brings a lot of my childhood back. Now, some of the most popular games out there, and people always, whenever you think of Avalon Hill, you think of Panzerblitz, Squad Leader, Magic Realm, which is just this all-time classic, even though it's impossible to play at times. Arab-Israeli War, Dune, Midway, Starship Troopers. Those are all fantastic games. But what about the underrated games? And I decided to go through my collection and pick out the games that I felt were really, really underrated. Some of these I have pictures for, and some of these I don't, so you won't be able to see them, but you can look them up. I'm going to give you the name of the game and the year it came out. And some of these, when they first came out, weren't big hits, but as time grew, they kind of got their own little cult status, and I really feel that they are some of the best games out there. So without further ado, I am going to give you what I consider the 10 most underrated Avalon Hill games ever made. At number 10 is Amiibo Wars. Now, you hear a lot of people say, oh, I love Amiibo Wars, but honestly, this is a game that when you talk about Avalon Hill, and if you made a top 20, I don't know if it would make everybody's top 20. It was a very interesting game where you were trying to capture this capital and a lot of really unique things, a very different type of game. It came out in 1981, a matter of fact, and was just a very different type of game at that time. It really stood out. I mean, you had Star Trek, Star Trek Federations and all those games and stuff like that. But this was just something really out there, a little different, and it was just one of those games that really stands out. Either you absolutely love this game, or you just consider it very mediocre. It's good enough to be number 10 on my list. At number 9 is a game that was actually in some parts it was part of a Games Workshop magazine, and that's Mythic Woods. This game is really unique. You are on a knight and you are questing on a journey, a bunch of knights, and actually this came out in 1980, and I find it really fascinating. It was just everybody talks Magic Realm. Well, this game just had a lot to it. It was very intriguing, it was very good, it was very solid, and it was just one of those games that you have to see for yourself. So I really suggest that you look it up, check the history on it, and see if you can find it maybe on eBay. You could probably steal it because not too many people really go after this particular game. At number 8, in 1978, I want to make sure I get the year out there, there was a game that came out, it was called UFO. You see this thing in every bargain bin that you can possibly find. But UFO was really unique as you were trying to take them out, and they were coming to take over and destroy cities and all this other stuff. And it was just a lot of fun, especially for a game that came out in 1978. When you think of Alien Vader games, you don't think of UFO, you're always thinking Starship Troopers. But UFO, you can find on eBay for $5, $5 to $15, easy. And I'm telling you, if you get it and you go through it, the rules can be a little stiff at times. But I'm telling you, if you get through it, get it on the table, what you have is a fun, enjoyable experience, and I really think it's something that you would enjoy. At number 7 is a role-playing game that doesn't get the love that it deserves. When it first came out, it was trashed in 1983. There's a couple pieces to this that I want to talk about, but it's Powers in Peril. One of the biggest problems is that it ripped off a lot of Frank Fracetta's art, and it got killed for that. A lot of people just looked at it and turned their heads. Dungeons and Dragons was at its full power at the time, and it really got looked over, especially with RuneQuest and everything else. In the box there were 5 books, and once you really got the meat of it, creating your character and so forth and so on. And there was another expansion to it that came out, I want to make mention, Tower of Dead, which good luck trying to find that. But Powers in Peril you can find, but it is a really decent system. It got trashed in the day, but people started to find it and fall in love with it. I'm telling you, look on eBay, look on BGG, and take a look at this. You can get it fairly cheap. Some people will overprice it, but I really feel that this was a fantastic, outstanding role-playing system. It worked really well once you understood it, and there were a lot of things that you could take from it and really would have enhanced your Dungeons and Dragons. There were a lot of unique things to it, and it's one of those games that really is undersung and really should be talked about more. There you go. At number 6 is a game that came in 1968. Okay, a lot of you were a glint in your parents' eyes. As a matter of fact, your parents were probably young at that point. But for me, 1914 was probably one of the best World War I games I played at the time. Really unique. It had a really basic rule set, but then it also had rules for advanced play. The basic rules were really great, especially for, at my age at the time, understanding that game and really getting a feel for it. It didn't have zones of control, which was very interesting at the time, but in the advanced rules they would add that. There were all kinds of different advanced rules and things with it, but the basic rules were just very, very good. It was probably one of the best World War I games I played until later on, when I started playing a couple games from Compass that really stood out. And number 5 is a game that either you really love or you hate, or people just consider it too basic. But for me, as a war gamer, I really liked it because it was simplistic in a way. And in 1978, Air Assault on Crete was really, really great. It was a very, very unique type of game. You were playing the Germans. You were trying to hold on to at least one town for 4 turns. And let me tell you, it was brutally hard and not as easy as you think, but it was just absolutely just one of those just all-out fantastic games that really, really, really just for me stood out, and I thought was I really loved it for what it was. Wasn't one of the more popular games. It was one of the games that came out later. Everybody always considers a lot of different games. By that time, Squad Leader was in full power, and a game like this was kind of pushed to the side because everybody loved Squad Leader so much. But Air Assault on Crete was just an absolute masterpiece in my mind. At number 4, this is a game that I really enjoyed a lot. It was Anzio, and you thought it was only part of the Italian campaign, but it was the entire. It was a game about the entire Italian campaign. It would start with the Fifth Army landing, and it would carry through. It was very, very good, solid. A lot of people didn't love it for the artwork. It fell flat there. A lot of people didn't care about the Italian campaign there, and yet I found it absolutely fascinating. And it's one of those games that's really undersung, but once you start playing it and get through a few of the scenarios, the game really grabs you and takes off. And that's one of the strengths of it, is how it takes off, and it becomes very compelling. And you really, really get into it, and I really think it's one of those games that you if you have a chance to get it, and I think you can get it anywhere from $20 to $30, and you'll find it's well worth it. It's very deep, and very, very, very just good. At number 3 is a game that was very innovative at the time, but it's another one that, if you went to a flea market, you'd find 20 of these compared to maybe trying to find anything else. It was just one of those games that really just kind of, if you had Panzer Leader or Panzer Blitz in your hand and tried to, decide to take this game, you would always take one of the others, even though you may already have them. It's kind of funny how it plays out. But Spiel, I always have a hard time saying it, came out in 1970. A very unique type of game, as it was more driven on numbers. There was no dice rolling in it, but it was very unique in how it played. People didn't like the artwork, was a big complaint of it. I thought it was very strong for what it was. Adding up your division and comparing it to another onto a chart and coming up with the decision there, and kind of trying to figure out how you were going to play things through. I thought it was very, very good, very solid, and I think it's a very underrated game that doesn't get the love, especially nowadays when people don't like, rather use tactics than rely on a roll of a die, having something go wrong. And I think that's where this game really comes in and is very, very strong, and really sits there and really does a fantastic job. Check it out. I hope I'm spelling it right. Take a look at the book. I know I'm butchering it, but that's me. Craig Spiel, 1970, my number 3 game. Number 2 is a game that really stands out for me, and everybody, this is another one where Magic Realm really stands out and is considered this grail game, but Wizard's Quest is just solid. It's just a solid game, and it does so many things right. It's a game that on a rainy day or anything, cold winter day, especially when I was living up in Connecticut, you get 3 people, 4 people, and you play this game, and it'll take an afternoon and an evening without even blinking an eye, and really just a lot of fun, a lot of adventure, a lot of different things going on with it. Just the components are perfect. The map was beautiful. At least I thought so. I really just enjoyed everything about that game, especially back in the day. This game came out again in 1970, way before Dungeons and Dragons, and really just stood out as one of those really unique, fantastic games. Now, before we get to number 1, I want to talk about some games that are honorable mentions here that I really feel that should be added to this list. 1983 Up Front, which was a World War II card game, which was absolutely fantastic. Reichen Friends War. I butchered that. It's a World War One aerial game, which it came out in 1973. Submarine, which is just absolutely fantastic, in 1978, which was another great game that should be on this list. And there's just so many more I would love to add, but we could sit here all day talking about this because Avalon Hill was just very special. But for me, the number one it's considered a collector's item by some, and by some others, no, people can care less about it. And that game is Titan. I think Titan was just special. You're fighting giant monsters. They came out with Titan Arena. This game came out in 1982. It was just one of those games that we used to gather around and just play endlessly. And Titan just stands out. You're taking and just brawling and just having a really just great, fast-paced, wonderful time with this just fantastic Avalon Hill game that doesn't, when you think Avalon Hill, again, I read off the list, you're thinking Dune, you're thinking Starship Troopers, Squad Leader, Magic Realm, Panzer Blitz, Panzer Leader, all these fantastic games. And then maybe Titan comes in somewhere, and I just don't think it gets the love that it deserves. It was unique, it was fantastic, and if you were, it's very expensive to get your hands on, because after a while, the popularity of it just really, really grew, and people remembered it, and people talk about it, like myself, and it, even, maybe talking about it now. Maybe some of you go out and check it out, and you'll see what I'm talking about and how fantastic this game really, really is, and how you really need to have this game in your collection. So there you go. That's my fantastic, unique list of the most underrated Avalon Hill games ever made. So, as always, maybe I missed a few. Maybe there's a couple that, again, I went off of my collection. Maybe there's something I missed. There's some sports games that they did I thought were very good I wanted to add on here, but I said, it was good, but I'm not playing it now. So a lot of these I will still break out and play. Matter of fact, I dug out a few of them and brought them back here just so we can play them. So let me know in the comments what you might think is a really great game. And until next time, it's your old pal Rob. We'll see you soon, everybody.